Coding is hard. If nobody is going to say it, I will say it. It is hard. I mean, especially for beginners. I remember when I started learning how to code, I started with HTML. That's the first thing everybody learned. It was a breeze. I was understanding it. We learned image tag, paragraph tag, link tag. I'm okay. I was getting it. I moved on to CSS, learned about class, ID, using hashtag for ID, selectors, changing colors. All right, I was understanding this. Now let's keep going. And then I got to JavaScript. Things were getting hard. I was having a hard time understanding that programming language. It was then that, I started getting into programming. Those first ones is just beans. I was not even started. When you get into JavaScript, that's when you are getting into it. It was very hard for me to understand. I saw concepts like functions, iterations, statements, loops, DOM manipulation, events, array, object. I was like, what is going on here? I mean, what are they used for? How does all these programmers use this to code efficiently? I don't understand this. What is object? What is functions? What is iterations? I was confused. Then I was in a boot camp. How is everybody understanding all this apart from me? Or am I a dullard? Is it me that is not getting all this, or is something wrong with these codes? Why am I not getting this? I was confused. I kept wondering, how do we put all these things that we're learning together in order to create something that is beautiful, something that is efficient like a website? How do you now combine all these things to create a website? I was so confused. If you see how the teacher was explaining it in the boot camp, it was just as if everybody was supposed to understand it, but I was not understanding it. That is why I'm making this video, to tell you what helped me. And I know most people also feel like this. When they get to JavaScript, when they get to Python, when they get to the main programming languages, they find it difficult, they find it hard. It was not what they envisioned. And if you watch to the end, it's really going to help you to smash coding. Like if it's coding that you want to do, it's going to help you to smash it. I don't even code as much, but I still make a lot of money every month. Just keep watching, I'll tell you all about that. Web development, coding has been quite easy for me because I learned these points I'm going to share with you. The first one is to appreciate what you have learned so far. Appreciate those little projects that you have been able to accomplish. The hello world output that you did, changing of the font color, how to resize in CSS, all those little things that you have learned how to do. Just appreciate it because it's not easy. There's a lot of people that do not know it, but you have been able to learn all those little things. Another point is to know which part of programming language you want to venture into. Know the field of programming that you want to venture into. I know it's very hard at the beginning because you might not know which one that you want to go into, right? You might not know which one that is best suited for you, or you might not know the type of field there are to choose from. There are web development, there are game development, application development, machine learning, data science, cyber security. There's a lot of them. And starting out is very hard for you to choose from because you don't even know them and you don't even know what each entails. Yes, it can happen. But I encourage you to make research. If you don't have clarity, research, get clarity to know what each field does. Venture into the part that interests you. This will help you to avoid being overwhelmed. It's really important. Let's say you want to get into tech, right? You learned that front-end development is the way to go. So you start by learning HTML, you learn CSS. After CSS, the next natural thing for you to do is to learn JavaScript. So you get into JavaScript. And then you have been hearing of Python. And then you say, oh, no. You did not finish JavaScript, or you now jumped into Python. Say, let me go and learn Python. I heard that is the next best thing. And as you're learning it, you now saw somebody on LinkedIn that is talking of how he got a job. And the language that he got a job in is maybe C# or C++. You now jump into that. You start learning that because you heard that the person got a job using that programming languages. You are setting yourself up for failure. You get overwhelmed, you'll be frustrated. It will be so hard for you to focus. You have to learn via a linear path. Don't jump around. And the next point that helped me is when you start practicing what you have learned, you find out that you cannot even write one piece of code. You see yourself going back to the instructions or Googling how to write a piece of code and you can't even get or write a code off your head without looking it up, without checking it online, you are not a dummy. It happens. It's natural. It's actually the way it's supposed to be because it's machine language, it's not human language. It's hard. It can be frustrating because I've been there. You'll be like, I thought I learned this. Why can't I remember how to write this code? What you have to do is you have to understand the concept first, not necessarily how to write the code or remember the code. Just understand the concept, what is being used for, where to use it, how to use it, and then when you now want to use it to write a code, proudly go to Google and Google it. Now we even have AI. You can go to ChatGPT and ask it, how can I write this particular code? Even me, I still research how to write code. I tell ChatGPT, how can I change a paragraph text? How can I change color? And it will write out the code for me. It's because I know there is a code you can use to change color, right? I understand the concept first. And now when I want to apply it, I do not necessarily remember the lines of code to use. I browse it, I go to ChatGPT, I go to AI to ask it, help me out. This is what I want to do. Write out the code for me. That is the most important thing, understanding the concept first. I attended a boot camp. So the instructors, they do not teach you the bigger picture. That is where a lot of people are having problems or having challenges. They just teach you the various concepts, just teach you objects, functions, all those things. So you find yourself wondering, where can I insert this? Where can I use this? Zoom out and see the whole forest. So when you are inside the forest and you get lost and you don't know where to go, the paths that lead out of the forest, if you have a map or if you have Google Map, if you zoom out, you're going to see all the various paths that will lead out of the forest. It's just the thinking that you have to get when you're learning programming. Zoom out, see the bigger picture. You don't look at the tree, look at the whole forest. So let me give you an example of, you have come across form on a website, right? Website forms. You have seen form being used on the website, and you have used form on a website before. Maybe to submit an information, you submitted your name, your phone number, you want to register for something. Form is what you use to submit that information, right? Now, relating it to the programming side, there are syntaxes that are associated with a form. For example, form element, event handling, form validation, DOM manipulation. Now, imagine that you have not seen a form before in your life. You have not seen it on a website. You don't even know what it is, how it looks, how it works, and you are now learning DOM manipulation, how to do form validation. You will not get how it works because you don't know where to apply it, where it's being used. You have not seen it before, but now that you understand the full picture, you zoomed out, you see where it's being used. When you are now learning it, it is much easier for you to grasp. It's more easier for you to learn. That's how programming works. If you are overwhelmed with learning about syntaxes, first research its use case, where it is being used, like this form example that I gave you now. If you're now learning the actual code and the processes and the steps to write the code, it will be very understandable to you. Let me just you how programmers work. It's not what you think. Let's say they have a project at hand, they want to build a web app. To accomplish that project that they have in hand, first of all, they map out the steps. Maybe the first step is to create a development environment. Afterwards, they will create an API. After creating an API, they will set up the database. After the database, they will connect the API to the database. They will call the API from the front end. They will authenticate. So they will list out all these steps that would help them to create the web application. If they now want to implement it, remember the first step is that they will create a development environment. They will now turn to Google and be like, how to create a development environment, or what tools to use to create a development environment, or something like that. The step-by-step guide on how they can achieve that first step. They might not remember the step-by-step rules on how to create the APIs, but they know what should be used to fulfill their requirement and where to find these things. So personally, I believe that knowing what to do and knowing where to find the APIs, or knowing where to find the step to use, the classes, the functions to help you accomplish tasks, plays a very big role in software development, in web development. It is the most important thing. You don't have to understand things at a deep level. You just have to learn enough to get you started to be able to use them reasonably. Another thing that helps is to use frameworks and libraries to make your life easier. React is a good example of JavaScript frameworks to use. Now, another point is the first time you learn something, or the first time you learn a concept in programming, it will sound like an alien language. Yes, it will sound like Latin, like you're learning Latin. It will just sound like the instructor is speaking Chinese to you. They're expecting you to understand it, but you don't understand it. You don't understand Chinese. That is just how it is. It's natural. And the solution that I found that is like you revisit that thing again. You go back and you relearn it. It gets easier when you go back and try to learn it again because you have heard it the first time. Now the second time is much easier. Watch a YouTube video that talks about it again. Let another person explain it to you. See another example. The third time is always better than the first time. And you might still not understand it. Maybe on your fifth trial or your sixth trial, you might still not understand it. But you're not where you were when you first learned about it. And that's okay. Just keep learning about it. You will see that when you use it in a real life project, when you apply it, it will make sense at the end. The quickest way to learn something is by practicing. For example, learning how to ride a bike or learning how to drive a car, it takes practice. The more you keep practicing, the more it gets easier for you to learn. Another advice I would give is that coding is not for everyone. I know it's very hard for you to accept. It stings that coding might not be for you, but it's the truth. But then it's when you try it out first that you know, do I like this? Is this for me? Will I be able to handle this? Is this something that I see myself doing long term? You have to try it out first. That is the only way you know whether it is for you or not. I applaud you for taking the step to learn it first. And then when you find out that it's not for you, you can explore other tech parts. There is a lot of tech part that does not require coding. You can venture into it. You can build website with WordPress, Webflow, Squarespace. Personally, I don't like coding like I told you earlier. I don't even code much. I can't even remember the last time I wrote a single line of code because I do all my work with WordPress and it pays me a lot of money. I'm still going to make a video of how I use WordPress to work for my clients. And I charge them real money. The last project I did was I charged the client 500,000 and he paid. With WordPress, I created a sales funnels for them. So I'm still going to make a whole video on how I do it and how you can also do it too. So if you find out that coding is not for you, don't force it. You see that it's not something that you're enjoying, leave it. It's not a do or die affair. There is a whole lot of tech jobs, tech aspects that you can do that does not require coding. I wrote out like 7 or 8 tech jobs or tech careers that does not require coding, that will give you real money, like real money. I wrote it out. I'm still going to make a video to tell you a lot of tech jobs that does not require coding that you can just venture into and start doing today, and it will give you money. Coding even takes time to learn, but these skills or these non-coding skills that I've written out, it does not take a lot of time to learn, and when you learn it, you can even start making money from it. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, now is the best time to subscribe to it because I've planned out a lot of videos that are going to help you. When I was starting out, I would have wanted someone to tell me all these things, but I had to research. I have to spend a lot of time to learn it. I want you to have the opportunity to be informed so that you can make the best decision. So if you like this video, you're going to like this video on my screen now. So click here to go and watch it.